sooner or later it's going to say this hangout on there is live. And yeah, all right. So I want to achieve mastery. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but that's what I'm on right now. So I'm going to get it if I just keep going. This recording, I'm pretty much thinking out loud. I'm practicing. And I need to share my screen probably. And if I want to share my screen, then maybe I should start screen share, right? Bring it to everybody and do something like that. Okay. Now, I could kill some of this. I could kill you, kill you, I kill you. I can, did anybody ask my question on Stack Overflow? No, kill you. And I can refresh this Nikeza.io web app. And, ooh, okay. So there's .NET Rocks UX Design Rants with Billy Hollis, which I'm going to listen to after I get done with this recording. All right, so like I've been focused on this Nikeza thing, and this is a saga. This is my journey to reach mastery, if mastery is even achievable. And well, I'll look at the greats within the domain that I focus on: Tomas Petracek, Mark Seaman, Scott Blashin. And I want to graduate to be an apprentice of theirs. They don't know that yet, but that's what I'm on right now. All right. So with that said, I'm building out this Nikeza mobile part. This Nikeza mobile is just the mobile app version of this website, but I'm still going full throttle in this functional programming, and I think there's some advantages to leveraging a functional programming language to building a solution. Your traditional object-oriented programming, you're able to make things happen. I just think that things can become very messy, and of course that depends on individual skill set, hence that of the actual developer. But I also think that when you start involving other developers, things start getting messy. All right. Now, would that change in functional programming? Maybe not. However, with my personal experience, I think that with functional programming and with the type systems that they provide, if they do rely on a compiler, I believe that it encourages higher clarity. I believe that right now. Okay. So in this video, I'm really just throwing up my thoughts. I'm thinking out loud on how to take this model of Nikeza, which is this web app right here, which has, if I click on myself, why does this thing look like it got larger? Hold up. If I scroll all the way down, okay. If I click on myself, eventually it's going to load in my profile. It's going to load in my portfolio. And if I click on, I just did a new podcast. I need to add a new podcast, man. I was on Functional Geekery. I should add that there. Okay. So I'm going to add it there. Oh, come here. Scott the Nimrod. Bizmonger. No, come here. Bizmonger.net. Yeah. And well, I haven't even listened to the Functional Geekery podcast. I haven't listened to my episode on it. I don't plan to, because I have low self-esteem, and I'm usually, I don't know, I think I probably sound dumb on there, so I'm not going to entertain the thought of listening to it and trying to critique myself while listening to myself on the show. Instead, I'd rather plead ignorance. So I'm not going to listen to it. But I'm going to plug in this link to the podcast that I recently done. Functional geekery. I don't know how to spell. You know, how to, something like that. And the link is right here. And you're smart enough to recognize it's a podcast. Good job. And well, that I'll talk about F sharp. I still can't figure out why this auto suggestion isn't speeding up. It's taking like 5 seconds and then finally does that. I don't know how to fix that. We do F sharp and we do functional programming. Come here. Topics. Do functional programming. Functional pro. Function. No, I'll just type it. And I think I'll talk a little bit about domain-driven design, but that's not showing up. So we just say design, maybe, or we could say architecture. We probably say design too. Probably use interchangeably. I don't know. Okay, so we add this functional geekery, and I'm go to my portfolio, and there's now 5 links in here, and we feature this functional geekery, and that now becomes featured, and we'll go to portfolio, and then sooner or later it should have functional geekery right here at the bottom. Okay, now that's the web app. What I want to do is I want to take this web app, and for this mobile app, why do I keep doing that? I want to take this web app, and for the mobile app, I want to model this whole domain, right? So this domain is like a portfolio context. You have a subscription context. Yeah, those are and you have a profile context, which may be the same thing as a portfolio context, or should I say the portfolio context may be really the profile context, right? So there's at least 2 bounded contexts, if that's the right term, a profile and subscriptions, okay? Your subscriptions has with subscriptions you subscribe to other content providers, but also these content providers, or not even content providers, but users can subscribe to you. But that said, subscriptions, I think, can be its own isolated system or subsystem, aka component of this overall solution. Okay. And then your profile, well, that is going to involve editing your profile, such as your first name, last name, specifying the topics that you want to be featured in, and in addition to that, there's something that I'm missing. Oh, your portfolio that might be associated to profile, but it's not, because I think there's 3. It's profile, and then there's portfolio, and then there's subscription, right? So I think those are individual boundaried components of the system. Okay. That's what I think right now. And all this is like me trying to just practice what I've been reading, what I've been consuming, what I've been learning, and what I want to manifest. So I take that and I say, okay, in the case of mobile, we are going to, does it make sense? Can I add a folder in F sharp? It says add solution folder. Okay. I'm going to call you, what will we call you? Well, all right. We know for a solution that there's going to be the actual integration, and that integration is it's really like integration points. It's not the domain, right? So you're going to have like integration, and then you're going to have like the actual domain components of the solution. The integration is the IO stuff and the UX stuff, right? So IO is like in the case of client web requests library, which well, it sends web requests. It relies on HTTP specifically. So that would go like in the integration folder, okay? Because that plugs into the actual domain, right? The domain is the core of the system, hence this core right here. Now, we also have common, and yeah, that's part of the core, okay? Now, in addition to that, this Nikeza mobile, Nikeza Android, Nikeza iOS, we can remove the iOS part. I'll remove you. Yes. Okay. This is also integration, right? So we're not even going to entertain that. Not until later. All right. So we got integration, and we're going to abstract that away, right? And then we have what Nikeza is supposed to be really all about. So in this case, you got your core, you got your common. Well, common should, I know why I have this. Common is shared right now, shared types that the server already relies on, and then the case of mobile is going to rely on as well, right? So that's a separate DLL. This core is should probably really be renamed to Nikeza mobile.core. That's probably what it should really be. Nikeza mobile.core. Okay. And we probably need to, if I hit F4, that should bring up the properties. No, if I hit F4, that should bring up the properties. And okay, so if I right click and go to property, it's Alt Enter. Okay, so let me try to not rely on the mouse. And I just hit Alt Enter on the context of the FS Proj. Okay. I did it on the wrong one. So let me select this Nikeza mobile.core and hit Alt Enter. And it's smart enough to update the assembly name. Good stuff. All right, so that's handled. What else we want to do? So that's made more clear. We have Nikeza Common, which is really a shared DLL between Nikeza Server and Nikeza Mobile. Right. So this is actually going to exist in different solutions. This Nikeza.common. This Nikeza.mobile.core. Well, this is specific to Nikeza Mobile, and this is the core infrastructure. Okay. And right now, what's in this core infrastructure? We have our model, which is a very arbitrary name for a file, but we have events and we have commands. Okay. So we have this model, and this model has email, password, entity name, feature link requests, feature topics requests. That stuff looks really familiar. That stuff looks like it should be in Nikeza Common. That's what it sounds like it should be in. Because, yep, it is in here. Feature link request. Yeah, so feature topics requests should also be down here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I know I just saw it in here, but do that right there, and it's in there, right? Which means I delete this over here, okay? And then this feature topics request, that should also be in common. but it's not in common, so we're going to add it to common. Okay. And we do that. Where am I at? Oh, down here. Okay. Uh-oh. Doesn't know what ID is. ID is not defined. And okay, so our ID is where is ID defined at? Up here. Well, ID and URL, you guys need to graduate to common. Okay. So you go up here and we're in common, and yeah, that's where you need to graduate to. So then I could go over here and I can do that right there, and I can consolidate that space right there, and we do something like that. Okay. Now, what else can we? La la la. You gotta, yeah. So build, and you should be happy. Hopefully, we're looking down here, and this is the build progress bar. Says failed. Okay. And it doesn't know what you're talking about over here. So we say open Nikeza.common. Okay. And it should make you happy, hungry, hungry hippo. Okay. So the build succeeds down here, and we go back to our model here. And is there anything else that is common? ID, provider, that we could probably delete provider, because I think that's down here too. Provider requests, that is there. So we probably don't need this provider here. Okay. Credentials, that probably should be common as well. But I don't think credentials is in server. But I think it's general enough that it should probably be in common. Oh, login requests. Well, that's what login request is. Email password. What the hell is bells? So this login request is really the credentials that I just had over here. Do you still build? Because I haven't really written any actual logic. And so this right here, probably should say login requests. Okay. And this provider is provider request. Does that work? And same thing down here. Subscribe and unsubscribe. I'm going to change that to ID. And ID. Well, why don't you say that, well, ID is, if you just look at this, you say subscribe to what? If someone didn't really understand the case. And so it's really like you subscribe to a provider ID, okay? The feature link, or I don't know, you could look at it different ways. You could either subscribe and then subscribe to what provider ID, or you can change the actual name of this command case and say subscribe to provider, but then that becomes really long and kind of verbose. So we take this ID over here, and this ID is, maybe this ID is too generic. It could be useful for other things, such as other entities, but maybe we should just have a provider ID. like this, and that's a string. On the server, it can translate strings to whatever. In this case, I mean, it relies on SQL Server, but the client shouldn't know that. The client shouldn't care. The client shouldn't be coupled to it. Everything else is an int, though. So you have a provider ID, and you have I'm missing a copy sign. You have a link ID, okay? And that should probably provide better readability. We know link ID is going to be an int, but provider ID, the reason why I specify that as a string is because in the future I want to say, at least on the web server, Nikeza IO / Scott Nimrod instead of the actual Nikeza IO / 329714. I want it to be like searchable. Anyway, what else am I missing? The equals the provider ID of string. That's probably what we should have. And the same thing here is link ID of int. Come here. So we got this right here. And we got this right here. Oh, come here. And I don't know. OCD is taking over right now. And so we clean that up a little bit. And URL, you look good. And we have that right there. Okay. So now I should be able to build. And then we go back over here to this commands. And you subscribe to a provider ID. And you have link ID, feature link, unfeature link. And you say link ID, and you say over here, you say link ID. All right, good stuff. All right, so like we have that, and now that's more readable, Now what? Well, originally this video is supposed to be practicing identifying the different domain contexts. Domain contexts. I don't know what the plural version of that word is, but basically we're trying to identify boundaries. We're trying to flesh out the different subsystems of this overall solution, right? And so what I was saying is, well, let's abstract away the integration logic that does IO and user experience, and we throw that inside the integration folder, and we don't have to worry about that. My human brain doesn't have to focus on that right now, right? So that's tucked away in some arbitrary folder called integration. This right here. Now, this is in the case of common. That's the shared DLL I discussed already. And this nikeza.mobile.core. That is there anything in this model that we need to? You know what? That registration, that should be covered as well because the server needs that data. So we go back, registration request. That's this right here. Hell's bells. So we go back to this model, and well, this we have something in here already called registration. This form, shoot. So first name, last name, email, password. The email password. I'm going to leave that alone for right now. And I could touch that later. I'm going to leave that alone. Unvalidated form. Okay, validated form. Because this is on the client side right now to support validation. That sounds good to me. And then you have this profile form. module, which has a form. That looks okay to me. Hold up. Why are there two different forms here? Module profile form, and this sounds really duplicated. I don't think I need this profile form right here. It has everything that I need with the exception of this entity name, which is new. If I go to common, there should be a profile request that's used that has the same stuff with the exception of entity name, which we can add in there. All right. Yeah. So we're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of that. And but they are different though, because one is a profile request, another one is actually a form. Or is it? This is pointing to profile form.form, validated and unvalidated. And this is actually this profile form should actually have, in addition to this, yeah, this is the same thing as profile request. These are the same thing. So with that said, profile request has sources and form doesn't. This should be used. The naming is off. The naming's off, but yeah, I'm deleting you too. And the form is a property, and the actual data type that backs that property is a profile request. Okay, so I cleaned up the design a little bit. And what's my output looking like? It says it failed. This provider over here, content discovered. I think it's supposed to be provider request or something. Okay. And this profile form validated, I just recently deleted because it is now called this is under registration, and it should be, if I'm doing this right, registration.validated, registration.unvalidated. Okay, so that looks like it's okay. It looks a little bit cleaner. Okay. Now that we have this, going back to my original intent is let's extend this solution, and this solution should now probably have some separate. Now here's the thing, right, is I'm trying to identify the different domain contexts, contexts, I think it's context, I think that's plural. I'm trying to identify the various bounded contexts that will make up this domain for Nikeza. But how do you identify that, right? So for example, is that represented as a DLL, a library that ultimately gets compiled down to a DLL? Is that represented as a module? or a namespace? Like how's that get represented? So the thought process is, well, if we do it as if we start modeling the different, I keep saying domain context. Maybe I'm supposed to say bounded context. If we model the various subsystems or the various bounded, I should stick with vocabulary. If we model the bounded contexts, whatever the word is, that make up the system, if we model it as their own individual libraries, then the advantage of that is we could maybe in the future, because the tooling isn't there right now for F#, but potentially in the future we could take advantage of code analysis, or not static analysis, should I say? Okay, so you can capture the code metrics of individual DLLs, and you can observe the maintainability index and cyclomatic complexity, that stuff, right? That's the advantage of if we model these bounded contexts as DLLs or libraries, individual libraries. You get to, now one can say you could still you can still leverage static analysis. They don't have to be DLLs. They could still be inside the same solution. Within Visual Studio, you just observe it at a namespace scope or a type scope. All right, so yeah, I guess there is an advantage. But at least I think when you do a library for each bounded context, that kind of enforces separation. You know, it's no longer included in the overall DLL. It's if you observe what Robert C. Martin says, he says keep things together that tends to change together, and pull things apart that tend to change for different reasons. And let me reiterate that and swap out things for code, right? Keep code together that tends to change together, and pull code apart that tends to change for different reasons. All right, that sounds a little bit better. That said, I think when you have a DLL, that kind of encourages separation. So I'm going to go with DLL. I'm going to go with a library. All right. So I'll create a new project. And we are going to, I'm still within F#. Cool. And as I discussed a while back, there's going to be different bounded contexts. One is going to be profile. And should it be a noun or should it be a verb? Like manage profile versus just profile. I think Screaming Architecture says manage profile. But just because it's clean architecture doesn't mean I have to do that. I mean, I don't have to do it. So do I name it the library profile, or do I name it manage profile? If I name it manage profile, then that speaks functionality. If I name it profile, it's just a profile library. I think I like manage profile. Now, if I use that convention and I create another library, the other library would be manage subscriptions. And so when you look at the solution, it would scream intent of the different the various features that make up that solution. Managing the profile and managing managing profiles and managing subscriptions. And it will be clear when anybody looks at it that that's what this application does. Okay, that sounds a little bit better. What's the other bounded context that I identified? Did I only identify 2, or is there 3? Well, manage profile, manage subscriptions, and you have manage portfolio. So there's three. So you have profile, subscriptions, portfolio. Yeah, do I really need to say manage in front of all of them? Or can I just say profile, subscriptions, portfolio? Now I'm trying to go back and say, well, maybe I don't need to say manage because maybe it's already apparent. So we're going to create a project called profile. We're going to create a project called subscriptions. And we're going to create a project called portfolio. Okay. So we do that, and let's just keep it going. Let's keep it going. Create another one. Come here. And we say in this class library, we say subscriptions. Come here. And we do another one. And this is going to be portfolio. Something like this. And okay, so we got portfolio, profile, subscriptions, right? Now, should I put nikeza.mobile.portfolio, nikeza.mobile.profile, nikeza.mobile.subscriptions? Do I need to do that? Well, I got nikeza.common, I got nikeza.mobile.core. I think I'm going to do it. Come here. Nikeza.mobile. Yeah, and that's going to be the prefix for everything. Do it like that, All right, and you do the same thing over here. Yeah, that. Okay. Build it. And everything should just build. So that represents the different subsystems of our solution. That represents the different or various bounded contexts, context. I don't know what the plural word is. Yo, I'm gonna look this up. What is it? Context? Context? That doesn't look right. Contexts? Contexts like that? This context. I think it's context. That's plural. You're gonna show me? Yeah, context is plural. Okay. So let me go back over here. And so these are the three bounded contexts that's going to so far make up the solution of Nikeza. When I say bounded context, the various responsibilities that have hard boundaries that are siloed that can evolve independently of each other. Okay. So good stuff. And because we have a portfolio context, we have a profile context, and we have a subscriptions context, we may want to revisit our Nikeza Mobile Core model, and we may want to consider extracting out the types that are in our model that we defined earlier and refactor this model, the types within the model, and push them into the various bounded context libraries where they belong. All right, so what does that mean? Well, we know we recently created a Nikeza mobile.profile, and more than likely a Nikeza.mobile.profile is probably going to have something to do with email, password, and entity name, first name, last name, etc. And probably this profile type too, right? And this registration, that probably belongs in there too. Actually, this whole file looks like it belongs in there. Yeah. So we take this model and we say, hell's bells, let's just cut this out. Let's cut this out and let's throw it in this Nikeza Mobile profile library. So I just do that. Hold up. No, that's not what I want to do. I just do that. And so we have model pasted in here. We could get rid of this library over here. Yes. We double click on this model.fs and it has our stuff in here. All right. It doesn't know what Nikeza.common is because, well, these are new libraries that we created. So we add a reference to Nikeza common for each of these new libraries that we created that represent a bounded context. Okay, so we go in here, go ahead and add a reference to that. And the same thing with subscriptions, we go add a reference to that, you know. Okay, and then so we got the model, okay, some comments, that goes in the profile. Yeah, okay. So we just save that and try to build everything. Everything should build. Everything should build. Everything should build. Why didn't you build? So now it says this model. We don't know what you're talking about, Willis. Now it's in the Keza core library for commands. Okay, and so it's complaining about it doesn't know what a page is, and that's fine because I don't think a page belongs in model. So this page, we can probably just define up here for right now. Type page equals page, and this registration, that will depend on the profile that we have. So now we add, if we, since we just did page over here, that means that we probably should delete page over here. Okay. All right, good stuff. You're a little bit cleaner now. And this Nikeza.core should now have a reference to this Nikeza.mobile.profile. Oh, come here. And so that should make you happy. That should make you happy. But I gotta include or import the namespace. Open Nikeza.mobile.profile like that, right? And but that's not right because it's not Nikeza.mobile.profile. It's Nikeza. This is called model, right? So we probably should say Nikeza.mobile.profile. Model? I don't want to say model. I just want to say profile. Something like that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to have a module that has the same name as a project. I guess we'll find out. And I do something like that over here. And we do, well, I think I already have this over here, but just make sure. And we try to build it. And we'll see if it complains or not. So this is Nikeza.mobile.profile is not defined. Well, if I go to this model, Nikeza.mobile.profile is defined up here. And if I hit, what was it, Alt F4 for properties? Oh, that wasn't right. I don't know what that did. I'm not sure what that's about. If I, oh man, it just loaded in the entire server. So I'll go back to mobile solution. Yeah, it just swapped out the entire solution. Hopefully I didn't lose any work because I did try to build. So when I build, it should save everything. So I'll go back over here. And originally I wanted to build this. Stop. Where are you at? Go up here within my Nikeza mobile course library. I want to have a dependency on the Keza mobile profile to support my command type. So it doesn't know what model is. That's fine because that's a generic name anyway. If we try to build, it is now saying that model is not defined, and that's fine because we are using Nikeza mobile.profile. So in events, we are now referring to Nikeza.mobile.profile. And so now it says that we have 2 errors when we attempt to compile. And now we don't have any. So everything compiles right now. Okay. Good stuff. And I think this is pretty clean so far. Now, what we haven't done is we haven't broken down these events. I'm not so sure that these events that we define should really be in nikezamobile.core. I think these events may need to be associated to particular bounded contexts. So what does that mean? Well, since we started defining types for this Nikeza mobile profile, this model, I guess this model can stay as a file name. What we probably want to do is we probably want to create a file called events. What is it? Control-Alt-N for a new file in Visual Studio. And we want to, Visual Studio, you're taking a while, man. Did that work? I thought it was Control-Alt-N. Control-Alt-N, no, come here. Control-Alt-N, no, that's Control-Alt-M, Control-Alt-N. All right, so that's not working. I'm gonna right click. I thought that add, Control Shift A. What's Control Alt N? Okay, so Control Shift A, new file. Okay, and we say source file, and we're going to add an events file for this nikezamobile.profile project. Let's say events FS, and so we have events over here. So now that we have events, what do we want to migrate over from the events that we originally defined? Well, these events should be related to profile, and well, registration events sound like they are related. And so does authentication events. And so does profile events. All right, so these right here seem like they're a natural fit to migrate into profile, into the profile library. And we put that over here. Now, that means that we probably want to, everything in here is this model file probably should be called registration because the contents of this model file under nikezamobile.profile really represents registration form data. So we rename this file to registration. And now you are called Visual Studio Preview is complaining. Okay, so this module, should it still be called nikeza.mobile.profile or nikeza.mobile. I think this should be called registration. The library is called profile, but this specific module is registration, and it has all the stuff for registering. All right. So we go back to this over here, and we need to open nikeza.mobile.registration. Oh, why aren't you being recognized? We're in the same library. You should be recognized. Aren't you recognized? If I try to build this, whoa, hold up. Is it out of order? I think it's out of order, man. So this events is coming before registration. What we really need to do is we probably should edit this project file and specify the compile order. And so we go to edit Nikeza FS Proj, and we switch to ordering. If I'm doing this right, something like this over here, something like this over here, and we go back over here, and we try to build it again, and that's happy. The compiler is happy about that. This ID, well, that login requested, well, that ID is now profile ID, right? And or was it provider ID? Login requested. We know that. Did I call it provider ID elsewhere? If we go to registration, if I go to Nikeza.common, common.fs, we want to, yes, provider ID. Provider ID and profile ID are going to be the same thing. However, provider ID it's more explicit, and it helps people understand the context of the ID that's being passed in. So when you subscribe, you're subscribing to a provider. You're not really subscribing to a profile. It has a different meaning, I think. So the whole point is to try to promote clarity. That's what I'm attempting to do. And then you could say profile ID, something like that. And so we have that. And then we go back to registration. Go back to events, and we need a import open Nikeza.common. Oh shoot, Nikeza.common, like that. And it appears to be happy. Log in, log out. This profile requested is profile ID. Okay. Subscribe is provider ID. Unsubscribe is provider ID. And that's looking pretty clean. So this is the Nikeza.mobile.profile context, and these are the events that are associated to the Nikeza.mobile.profile context, and that is pretty bounded to me. Okay, so now what? Well, let's revisit our events file over here. That's in Nikeza.mobile.core, and figure out if we can pull out more events and put them in their designated bounded contexts. Okay, so page requested, that's more application specific, which I'm going to leave in Nikeza.mobile.core. Link events, well, that is related to a portfolio. That's related to a portfolio. So we'll cut out this link events from this file, And we'll go to nikeza.mobile.portfolio, and within that file, I could say module nikeza.mobile.portfolio, and we can say this right here, and this doesn't know what feature link request is. That's defined in our nikeza.common, I believe. I'm not saying imports. Open nikeza.common. Where's my K at? Nikeza.common. Yes. All right, so we got you over here, library file. We probably should rename you to portfolio.fs. Portfolio, come here. All right, so portfolio.fs. Okay. All right, so then we have this open the case of, I don't know what you're talking about, Willis. Oh, that's registration. That's registration over here. Yes. And okay. So we extracted that out and we threw that inside nikeza.mobile.portfolio. And all this is focused on flushing out our bounded context. Now what? Okay. What do we have left? We started defining our yeah, we still got to do commands, but okay, let's stay focused on extracting out commands and events from this nikeza.mobile.core. Notification events, that's kind of application specific, just like page requested is as well, or is it? Notification events, such as content discovered, new subscriber, well, that looks like it should probably go into subscriptions. Okay, take that out. Yeah, this topics featured, that looks like it should go in profile as well. We're going to revisit that as soon as I hurry up and update this subscriptions over here. Yes. All right, so we go to this library. Come here. We say module. Say subscriptions. Come here. What just happened? Subscriptions. Yes. Oh, why is everything caps? Go low cap subscriptions. Yes. Then we go over here. Okay, good. Now we got to open. Come here. Open Nikeza. Yes. .common. Yes. And what happened to my open? Come over here. Yes. Okay. There we go. So we got this. We probably should name this library.fs to subscriptions. Subscriptions.fs. Yes. Okay. Got that down. This topics events, topics featured, that probably should be here, and it should probably be in the portfolio, or yeah, the portfolio. Where are you at? This right here. And you have link events and you have topic events. Okay. And well, this portfolio.fs probably should be called events.fs. Yes. And I don't know what just happened there. And we should update the module name to events. Yes. Which is probably going to make something unhappy because it doesn't. Okay. So, okay. And we go back down here to this common. No, we don't go to common. Actually, common, we need to close you out because you're distracting me. And we go back to this events over here. And now we're just, this page request, Nikeza.com is no longer being used. This Nikeza, this import for registration is no longer being used. Or yes, it is. Okay, I'll put you back. Okay. And so we are good with this. So now your nikeza.mobile.core events, nikeza.mobile.core.events. that. Yes. And that should be okay. Now it says we have 3 errors in the compiler. And what are you talking about? This in the case of mobile.profile that we recently tried to import, it's no longer being recognized because I think it's called in the case of mobile.registration. Oh, okay, there we go. And everything should just build. Yes. All right. So like, does everything build? Does everything build? Everything builds. And if you notice, we haven't added any actual logic. We're just going full throttle. We're just going ham defining our types, whether they're events, whether they're commands, whatever. All right. So now we're still in this nikeza.mobile.core library, and we successfully extracted out the events into their own individual bounded context. Now what we want to do? Well, we probably want to repeat the same type of pattern, but instead of events, we want to start focusing on commands. We want to extract commands to individual bounded contexts, their own individual libraries. All right, so we look at this command, we say, there's a feature link on feature link. Well, okay, well, that looks like it belongs to the portfolio bounded context, aka library. So do something like that, and then we're going to remove you over here. Yes. Come here. And we go into this over here, and we probably want to add a file called, if I do Shift or Control Shift A, add a new file, and this file is probably going to be called commands. Commands Mendejo. Okay, so we do that. Come here. And this module should probably be named Akeza.mobile dot commands. And we do this over here, type command, and that over here. And we probably need a import. I keep saying import. Open this Nikeza.common. I keep missing the I, man. Nikeza.common. Nikeza.common. We do that over here. Oh, come here. Do that over here. Yes. Okay. So then we go back to our commands over here, and there's a validate and try submit. Well, this is for registration, and that is for your profile. What else? There's a login. Well, I'm not going to look at all that stuff yet. We just know for a fact that we need to take the registration related commands and we need to dump that into profile. So we have in our profile library, aka bounded context, we probably want to do this over here, and we probably want to say commands. That's what we want to name the file. We'll do this over here. And we probably want to import something and say open nikeza.mobile. And what is it called? What is it called? Registration or something like that, right? Nikeza.mobile. No, what is this called? I'm almost positive it's called registration. Nikeza.mobile.registration. And, well, it doesn't recognize. What do you need to point to? The KZ.mobile common portfolio. Where is this registration defined at? That's defined over here. The KZ.mobile registration. Your commands depend on registration, which means that registration needs to come before commands in regards to file dependencies. So we try to edit this Nikeza, the mobile profile.fsprosh, and we say registration, my friend, you need to come first. You need to come first. Yeah, we go over here. Come here. We do that over here. Come here. We go back over here. Come here. There's the commands at right here. And you are happy, my friend. And it says that you don't need this registration to be imported. I think you do. Oh, okay. So we say type commands or type command equal, and then everybody's happy, hungry, hungry hippo. All right, so got that in there. Let's go back to our commands over here. What else can we extract out into individual contexts or bounded contexts? Well, there's login, there's edit. So you log in as a user. That belongs to profile. Edit belongs to profile. So at least these two right here belong to the profile context. So we go back down here. We go to commands here in profile, and we have this over here. Login requests. Well, we need to import. So we say open Nikeza.common, and that should be happy over there. Okay. Now what? Well, if we go back to our commands, there's view, there's save. Well, we know save is saving a profile, so we can go back to our commands under the profile bounded context, and we can put save there. Okay, good stuff. Now, what else? What else can we do? We can go back to our commands. When you view, it says view, basically a provider request. So you want to view a provider. All right, well, where does that go? Let me collapse the solution. When you want to view a provider, well, you probably want to view their portfolio. All right. So, or do you? Let's think about this. If there's a command saying view a provider, does that belong to the portfolio context? Does that belong to the profile context? Which command does that belong to? A portfolio, I believe, is like a wrapper. You know, that's how you view links. You organize links, and you view links that are associated to topics within this portfolio bounded context. Profile, you edit your profile, you save your profile, right? But where does view a provider's portfolio come in at? Well, I think it still goes in portfolio, right? Whether it's your own portfolio or a provider's portfolio, it should probably still be in there. Okay, so we had this view, cut that out, and we go to the portfolio commands, and you have feature link on feature link, and you have you have view. Okay. Okay. Now what? So portfolio view. What else do we have? We have subscribe, unsubscribe, and request page. Request page, I think, can just shoot. Yeah. Yeah, request page is, I still feel, is application infrastructure. So that, I think, is going to stay. But the subscribe, unsubscribe, that, my friend, is going to go into subscriptions bounded context. And which means that we're just left with request page, something like that. Scott, you're so smart. Okay. Something like that. Something like that. We go to our subscriptions bounded context over here. And we don't have commands yet, so Control Shift A to add a new file. And we have over here, we do, oh, come here, commands like this, something like that. And we say, come here, type command equals, and then you have that right there. And then this module, we say Nikeza dot mobile dot subscriptions. Oh, come here, subscriptions, something like that. I guess dot commands, whatever. And we need to import some libraries to make the compiler happy. Open and provided this is nikeza.common, something like that. And hungry hippos. That's all good. Yes. Compiler succeeds. And what we have successfully accomplished is we have basically extracted out the events that were in this nikeza.mobile.core and put them into individual bounded contexts, such as portfolio, such as profile, such as subscriptions. These are the subsystems that make up our solution. These are the bounded contexts that make up our solution, in which they have commands and they have events and they can evolve independently. The only thing that's in nikeza.mobile.core right now is basically application infrastructure for handling events that are related to requesting a page and commands that are related to requesting a page. And that is it for right now. So good stuff. This is our design. There's no actual logic yet. We haven't declared or defined, implemented any functions. Everything has been basically scaffolding, focused on establishing types. So what this is ultimately going to look like, as I try to prophesy, is we're going to have, how's this going to work? We're going to have, you kind of look at it in two different ways. You're going to have commands that come from the user that's engaging the user interface of the mobile application. Those commands are going to basically result in workflows that get executed, aka some domain logic that gets executed. The results of that domain logic execution is going to spawn events. Those events in turn can result in other commands within other bounded contexts that get executed, which ultimately executes separate workflows that outputs additional events, and it goes like that. Okay. Again, to reiterate, we haven't focused on actually building any or implementing any individual functions, aka workflows. We've just been focused on first establishing all these events, which flushed out the types, which flushed out commands, which flushed out bounded contexts. And now the next session, maybe I'll do in maybe 2 or 3 hours when I wake back up, because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, is start exploring what these workflows are going to look like by means of functions. And this thing called F#, this functional programming. All right, yeah, man, good stuff. This is nice practice. Yes, I like this. And I am out. I am stop presenting, and I'm going to end this live stream. And I'm pretty happy with my progress. Yeah. All right, I'm out. Peace. Bye.